is unclear. As a reporter, I was asking questions about what kind of information is being gathered, under what authority, how it's being shared. It does appear to be something of a work in progress. In the 8 states or so, it's done differently. One question I have is whether initial observations are parked in shared access databases. What laws would apply? The state open record law, or if it's a federal database, does it come under federal privacy laws? One thing that got me curious as a reporter also was there was a reasonable openness and transparency here, but not total. For example, I asked to see a class syllabus for the training, and that was rejected, that request. I also noticed this started without an announcement. It was something you sort of had to look into and push for to find out about.
I was interested in your interview with Mike German, who is a longtime FBI agent, and his concerns.
Yeah, very helpful source, because he'd worked for 16 years with FBI and now is advising the ACLU. And I think the concern is how the information will be shared when it comes into the system, and what will be the criteria, if it's a reasonable suspicion criteria, which is traditional, or as you know, some of these TLOs are looking into legal activity as well as illegal activity. For example, in Colorado here, one of the specific things were bulk purchases of disposable cell phones, up to 150 of them. That's interesting. The security officials can link this type of phone to use as detonators abroad for roadside bombs. And they've also been sold before abroad to raise money for terrorism. So the idea is that perfectly legal activity, if it's part of a pattern, might be of interest.
Do you see a stepping up of the surveillance before the Democratic convention here in Denver?
I had no real sense that this was linked to the convention in particular. Obviously, local security officials are going to be extra vigilant and looking at things of particular concern with the convention coming up. For example, we've had, I understand, several cases of people impersonating law enforcement officers in Colorado, going to the extent of pulling over vehicles on highways, which is pretty bold. And so that's one among many things that I understand from talking with TLOs that they're tracking.
Huh. Mark Silverstein, in this lead up to the Democratic convention, the ACLU has brought several lawsuits. Can you describe them?
Well, sure. I think one of our suits is a lawsuit against the City and County of Denver and the Secret Service. And what we're trying to do in this lawsuit is maximize the ability of the public and protesters to exercise their First Amendment rights during the time of the convention here in Denver. So it concerns such things as parade routes or demonstration routes, and how close the public and protesters might be able to get to the convention site in order to communicate viewpoints or messages to the delegates that are coming to the convention.
Other lawsuits?
The other lawsuits, the other lawsuits are under the Colorado open records laws. We know that Denver has been allocated $25 million, well, $50 million in federal money to reimburse it for security-related expenses. Denver has budgeted $25 million of that for purchases of equipment. So we have asked, under the Colorado open records laws, for information about the budgeting and expenditure of that public money. Denver has resisted providing any details, and so we do have a lawsuit trying to get disclosure of that information. Another of the lawsuits, also under the Open Records Act, just seeks the policy and procedure manual for for Denver's pre-arraignment detention facility, the city jail. It's where recent arrestees are taken. We have concerns about how prepared Denver is for what might be mass arrests of protesters during the convention.
Is there a clearing out of the jails going on right now?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that in discussions almost a year ago now, the ACLU and other groups asked the city officials, could you In the case of minor violations of the law, how about giving someone a notice to appear in court rather than making a full custodial arrest that requires taking someone to a detention facility, processing them, and having them post bond? The police response at that time is, well, that would require a change of policy. Our current policy, we were told, was that for protests, they do not give citations. They make full custodial arrests. A couple months later, there was a demonstration with 80 people sitting in the street in symbolic protest of Columbus Day. They were all arrested, taken to the city jail, and even after they had posted their bond money, some of them, it took 6, 8, 10, 12 hours to be released. And we've written to the city saying, look, if the city jail is overwhelmed by only 80 arrests of protesters, what's going to happen if Denver, like New York City in 2004, has over 1,000 people arrested? We're afraid that the city jail just isn't prepared for that many arrests, that would overwhelm the staffing and infrastructure of the jail. So we were trying to get the policies of the jail for this and for other reasons, and the city essentially said, no, we can't release that to you for security reasons. So we filed that lawsuit under the open records laws and have already gotten most of the policies.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, but I want to thank you both for being with us. Mark Silverstein, Legal Director of the Colorado ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, and Bruce Finley, reporter for the Denver Post, specializes in international affairs. We will link to your article on terrorism liaison officers on our website, and also link to the ACLU at democracynow.org. That does it for our broadcast here in Colorado Today. We'll be here for the next 3 days in Denver as well as in Aspen. Special thanks to Kevin Price and Rebecca Kofsky and Lynn Sprague and Peter Taylor and Lee Burek and Aaron Campbell and Eric Alatis and Becky Peter and Kyle Harris and Talia Brucker and Mike West, Mike Skokes, Brandy Nicole, Bjorn Mira, Dennis Moynihan. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.